will provide valuable guidance for accelerating this growth towards sustainable transformation. I'm confident that we have such good panelists and speakers today, and today's deliberations will generate practical recommendations for scaling up the sustainable technologies, for mobilizing the green finance, and for strengthening the circular business model. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, to cover all the energy prospects, environmental prospects, even in the gender points of view. Even she's considered as a green energy, green jobs, and the employment. That is very, very useful. And I am very thankful to support, of course, under the guidance of Ministry of Textiles, to initiate the project as a JEF-funded India Textile project, as well as the PAGE programs. And very soon to release a technology roadmap, which is very, very useful for the textile sectors. With that, I have the pleasure of handing over because as you know, the time is very constrained, so I'm requesting Christina to look all the things, how we can try to moderate the sessions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pankaj, and thank you, Madam Chair, for the inspiring words. And I will start with some of your words. If we have to do the sustainability and transition, it needs to be affordable, scalable, and accessible for everyone. So let me start immediately with the colleagues here, and with a sort of warm-up questions for everyone. And let me start with Dr. Tyagi from Aditya Birla. From your perspective, what is the single most important action needed over the next 5 years to achieve inclusive and green transformation in the sector?
Thank you, Cristiano and Dr. Pankaj, for inviting me. And this is a pleasure to be part of this deliberation. Though there are many things which we need to do, but you ask what is the one most important thing. So I have to prioritize what is the most important thing. Many times when I go to that industry forum or other part of that supply chain forum, understanding on sustainability, people say to me, Sasta plus affordable, that is sustainable. And I say, maybe. Then other side, I see a lot of pilot project and a good study which is being carried out. So for me, I think I personally feel there is a lot of good work happening in pocket. And it is very fragmented approach. If we see the textile and apparel value chain, I think for me, most critical and important point now is scale. So sustainability, how it can be taken for scalability, is something very, very critical. To scale it, I think it's not that one company, one organization, one stakeholder. All stakeholders need to come together, because scalability requires inclusive and sustainable growth. To make inclusive and sustainable growth, we need to have all that value chain actors together. And to bring all these value chain actors, garment and textile as an industry is two extreme part. One is very organized, other is completely isolated and unorganized. So how we build a bridge between these two and how we get that both together is that something which is very, very important at this moment, because India has a scale, industry has that capability, a lot of innovation and good work is already happening in different pocket and scale. But how to bring that entire ecosystem, something for scalability, India as a hub for textile industry, as a pivot for sustainable growth, is something which is very, very important at this juncture.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Tyagi. And I wrote it down, scalability and building bridges between all the parties. Madame Tukaral, you are coming from the World Bank. You're a private sector development specialist. You're very much accustomed to the textile sector. Same question to you. The single most important action needed in the next 5 years to achieve inclusive and green transformation of this very important sector.
Thank you, Cristiano. I think I'll take the liberty of mentioning two. One, I think the most important is access to affordable finance to actually invest in green infrastructure. because we understand that our textile sector is dominated by MSMEs and they have limited pockets. And for them to invest in capex heavy infrastructure, there's a need for access to finance. And I would want to emphasize that this need to access to affordable finance, because you also need to work on the mindset of working with MSMEs that these investments will have long-term benefits. So it is not a cost burden at this stage, and to convince them that this is not a cost burden, you need to provide access to finance at affordable terms. That is one. And the second, which is interconnected but critical from implementation point of view, is also the capacity building of the MSMEs to better understand and track and monitor their performances on sustainability lens. As Mr. Tyagi mentioned, I think the sector people understands their business to the core. They understand their products, but when it comes to sustainability, the definition varies, right? And hence there is also a need for doing some capacity building on how new tools, new digital tools, AI can be used better in these smaller factories to monitor as well as improve their sustainability performances. So I'll give those 2 points as I feel is important. Thank you.
The more the better. Thank you very much. Let me pass the floor to Mr. Babu from the GEZ. We have heard scalability, we have heard access to finance, capacity building. What is, from your perspective, the most important action needed over the next 5 years?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. So if I have to say one measure, because getting textiles into the forefront has to have multiple things together, I would focus on something that includes everything, and that would be circularity. Now, why do we talk about circularity? I think all of you are very conscious about the demand that we have for producing high quality product, high durable product, which people assume is going to be cost intensive. But if we can apply the principles of circularity, there is a possibility to be a competitor in the market while producing high quality, but in a very cost effective manner. There are many tools and methods and techniques to deal with that at the company levels, as well as at the cluster levels. Now, happy to learn that Ministry of Textiles is already promoting those textile clusters, and we from GIZ together with UNIDO and the World Bank developed this international framework for eco-industrial parks. We worked extensively on multiple tools and techniques to be applied at the company levels. We also worked extensively on designing the industrial parks for sustainability. Yeah, I can put in more information as we go by. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me come back to the private sector and specifically to SIMAI and to Mr. Senani. Mr. Senani, same question for you. I mean, I guess you have heard also about MSMEs and the importance for access to finance. But from your perspective and from your experience, what is the single most important action to accelerate sustainability and inclusivity?
Today, if you look at the Indian clothing manufacturing, it's a very unique place. The 95% of the manufacturing is done for domestic manufacturers and domestic brands. So it is very different compared to other clothing manufacturing countries. So we have to look at it in a very different manner, unless and until there is an incentive given where basically we say that association like CMAI or any other association comes together with certain private brands, corporates coming on one side, government coming on the third side, and coming together and giving some kind of an authenticity. So what we are proposing is that CMI can play a role here, as we are making a brand called EcoStitch. This EcoStitch can act as a sustainable label, which could be platinum, gold, silver, and according to that, if there is certain priority given to the supplier in the form of buying from that particular supplier. Suppose a brand is buying 50 lakh pieces. Even if 5 lakh pieces is given priority, then it incentivizes the brand to go towards sustainability. And the same way, when we are going to the government, then if the government can also give certain subsidies for a limited period of time, maybe 2 years, 3 years, so that again there's an incentive to the brand to invest in sustainability, and then the whole chain, which is also going to be good for the country, and ultimately those MSME brands would be ultimately ready for the whole world to export basically.
Thank you very much. Let me now pass the word to Mr. Kadian from the head of GATS. Sorry, on the other side. Pleasure to have you with us. It's from the Global Alliance for Technology and Sustainability. What's your view on that? What is the single most important action for accelerating sustainability and inclusivity in the textile sector?
Cristiano, for that conclusion to come, we need to break our supply chain into the segments. First is the raw material, second is the process, third is the disposal. When it comes to the materials part, then circularity is the key. We need to scale our recycling, and for recycling to scale, we need two technologies. One is sorting, that we need to have standard on sorting and some sort of mechanism which can, because our industry is primarily into blends. So we need sorting technologies to clearly differentiate between the blends. Then comes in recycling, technologies for fiber improvement or not letting the fiber to deteriorate, because in mechanical, nowadays only mechanical recycling can be scaled. Then comes the process part. We speak many a times how to recycle water and how to use CTPs, ZLDs. I think it is more important the technologies by which we can reduce the use of water. Foam technology is there. By not using liquid discharge, we can wash the garments from foam. We can use dyeing. Ozone is one thing. Laser is another thing. Okay, and these are nowadays, these are not that costly technologies, very cost effective. Then third comes the disposal part, how our waste can again go back as a raw material to the supply chain. So I think these are a few technologies. If we work on these, we can have a more sustainable and circular textile and fashion industry.
Thank you very much for your inputs. Let me pass this end of the first round of questions to Mr. Ralan from Grant Thornton. And the same question to you.
So I think single most important action that we could probably take for the next 5 years is how do we drive cluster level green transformation across the textile sector. Now, unlike our competitors where the textile sector is largely a representation of few larger textile entities, our sector is highly fragmented, MSME led, and a cluster based ecosystem. Over one last year, I think it has been a privilege of my team to support Ministry of Textiles and being a thought partner for the TexEco initiative, a scheme that is intending to drive this green transformation across the textile sector. 5 broad components that this scheme would cover would include, first one is creation of common green infrastructure. Second one is water reuse and ZLD infrastructure. Third one is renewable energy access. Fourth one is textile recovery and recycling infrastructure. And the last one is how do you come up with a common unifying framework that harmonizes all the sustainability regulations that are emerging. So TexEco, Cristiano, it has been envisaged as a lever for industrial competitiveness over the next 5 to 7 years. And the design principles for this green transformation has been that how do you ensure that this transformation is inclusive, resilient, investable, and aligned with the Panchamrit framework of climate action that our country has taken forward. So that for me would be the most important and the critical action that we should focus on.
Thank you, thank you. So interesting, this first 360 round around the most important action. Let's now try to go a little bit deeper. No, I'm coming back to you, Dr. Tajin. You are one representative of one of the Indian's leading apparel retailer, Aditya Birla. So how do you see the big brands driving sustainability across the value chain? And you also spoke about, this is the second part of my questions, about the fact of inclusivity, bringing everybody together in the value chain. So what support do micro and small and medium enterprises, suppliers need to meet all these growing demands that is coming from the market?
For big corporate like us, we have portfolio of brand. So we need to have harmonized standard across our brand. We have 35 brand, from luxury brand Sabyasachi to even mid-market brand Peter England. So we need to harmonize that standard for our organization. Big organization, I think three pillar which is very important for us. One is responsible stewardship. As a big organization, big retail in India, how we can set example, other to follow. And it's looking beyond compliance, looking into global framework and standard. Then second is that stakeholder engagement and collaboration. It's easy, some set of people understand it so well, but not everyone understand. So how you get stakeholder something to co-create and co-design and then implement it is very, very important. Third is getting your supply chain future ready. I think these are the three pillars which we have taken. So big corporate, when you have that rhythm and you have your responsible stewardship, it's easy. Critical thing is that how you get all stakeholders together. I think we as an organization has 2,000 plus supplier, mix of all that good, bad, small, big. Sometimes I think capacity building goes beyond your organization boundary wall. I will give you one example. One of my supplier, I say we need to do something in green transition. He said, green transition, I will do it. After 1 week I went there, all his office wall was green. And he put that green tree picture, this picture. I say, this is not green. Green, I think understanding of that and simplifying, because sustainability is very complex topic. You have to simplify it for different stakeholder in different way. I say for you, it's not green wall. It's your material efficiency, how you make your garment. It's your material consumption, your waste, your rejection, your quality. Your right first time is only 65%, 35% is rework. You can't sustain your factory in that way. Your rejection is 12%. You can't manage that. So I think you have to simplify it in different part of that. If it is a small supplier, you don't need to scare him. It's net zero. He say net zero means tomorrow onward you will not give any order. That's you need to have very, very simple language. And we started a program called Green Channel Partnership. And we say first level, your own efficiency, your internal resource management, whether it is productivity, efficiency, resource consumption, should be mapped. You measure it. Anything which is measured can be improved. If it improved, delta is positive, then you are making difference. So I think that it was challenging for MSME, but the way we simplify it, so one side we have that lot of seminar, conference, where we have to talk about that net zero, sustainable finance, inclusive growth. But on ground, I think simplify in their language, in their term. Same vendor who talked to me in that green wall is today one of the benchmark. He is running his factory, zero defect, zero rejection. Even that his merchandise goes to our warehouse. It's almost zero customer complaint. And his marker efficiency, I say that you use that even NIFT know well, you have that marker. You have to put marker to cut the fabric. I say, why you are using fresh paper? You use recycled paper. No use. And he says, sir, I saved 3.5 lakh rupees just in paper. I'm using recycle. I said, no, you save even that 5 ton of carbon footprint because you are not cutting the tree again and again. So I think simplifying is the rule for capacity building, and how you get business relevance, them to do it more is also very, very important. And in that, all stakeholder, whether it is government scheme, policy, sustainable finance, renewable transition, I think we map that stakeholder in a manner where it goes to that in alignment with sustainable and inclusive growth. But inclusive growth need to be very simple terms, because when I talk about Sabyasachi, no one throw that garment in landfill. But when I talk about low and mid-market garment, it's use and throw. So I think sometimes Indian mindset and consumer behavior, which is missing part, I think that is the part where we need to build more and more capacity, not only in supply chain and manufacturing alone. Value chain, I think consumer and customer is equally important. And in that, Ministry of Textile has been putting a lot of a scheme. I think that will come handy to manage demand part of that sustainable clothes.
Thank you. Thank you. Very interesting. Simplify, simplify, simplify. I think this is very important specifically for micro and small and medium enterprises. Let me go back to Mr. Turkal from the World Bank. You were giving me 2 priority actions before. One was on access to finance, which I believe remains one of the biggest barriers specifically for the green transition and the MSME sector. So what innovative financing mechanism, blended finance, a lot speaking now about blended finance model can help accelerate this investment, according to your experience and visibility from the bank perspective?
Sure. Thank you for that question, Cristiano. I think you linked the question very well to the priority that I mentioned, and I still believe that's one of the priority. I think there was a recent study that was done which mentioned that just the textiles and apparel sector in India would need around $6.5 billion to reduce their carbon emission by just 50% of what they release right now by 2030. So that's a huge quantum of money that the sector requires just from greening perspective and just to reduce 50% of the emissions. So that's why my main point on access to finance is being stressed. Coming to blended finance, I think institutes like World Bank has been supporting and developing various financing instruments, not just globally, but also in other sectors in India, which can be replicated and designed specifically for the textiles and apparel sector. And I'll take the feedback from Mr. Tyagi and I'll try to simplify, because not everyone would understand financing and the technical terms. So that everyone understands when we talk about blended finance, what we exactly mean and how these can be given or supported to the MSMEs. One way of doing is the partial credit guarantee schemes. What happens is that when an MSME goes to a bank to get loan for a new investment, their credit worthiness is not as strong, right? And the investments they're talking about, the banks also do not consider them as very lucrative from investment perspective. They see that the returns would come much later and maybe they will not be able to repay the loan. And then they decline their requests of loan. So partial credit guarantee schemes is a scheme where the government or institutes like World Bank come as a backstop, saying that if the MSME defaults on your loan payment, up to X amount, the government will pay. So this gives an assurance to the banks that, you know, instead of the total amount of the loan that we're giving, suppose 50 crores, 30 crores is backstopped by the government. So our risk is only 20 crores. So this is one of the blended finance scheme that exists. It's already there in India, being supporting a lot of infrastructure companies, and it can be replicated for MSMEs as well, right? So and it is one of the most powerful scheme to mobilize private capital. So that's something that we can definitely explore for MSMEs. Second, I think CMAI mentioned about incentivizing for investing in these technologies. So one possibility is sustainability linked financing, right? Where the terms can be decided in a way that if you achieve certain pre-agreed reductions in emissions or other parameters linked to sustainability, your interest rates would be lowered, right? Or your terms of loans would be much better than others. What this does is that it does not only let the borrower comply, but also improve, because they have a motivation that if they overachieve, they can save money, right? And it's not that these sort of products, lending products, do not exist in the economy. They do exist, but they need to be customized for the sector. So I think sustainability-linked loans is something that can not just reduce the cost, but also incentivize players to improve their performances, right? I think because of paucity of time, I'll just cover one more, but there are many, and I can have a session on various access to finance and blending finance models. But one, because I think Devanshu mentioned about cluster level growth. There are also models where aggregation models can be taken into consideration, right? For a single MSME to take or invest into a large infrastructure, it is not feasible. And their utilization also will not be as large. And that's why an aggregation model where the investments are done at cluster levels or multiple, CMAI coming and taking loan on behalf of their members and investing into a shared infrastructure at a cluster level and seeking better terms from the banks, because it's not just one individual but a group of people coming, similar to self-help groups that you must have seen, right, in rural areas. So that's also an aggregation model that can be explored, particularly for textile sector where the clusters are very well defined. In other sectors, because the clusters are so scattered, it becomes difficult. But the added advantage that textile sector has in India is that the clusters are very defined and are very close-knitted as well, right? So that's another model that can be explored for ensuring that you have access to financing and at better terms and at your terms. So I'll stop there, but I can talk about more if needed.
I'm sure there will be other occasions during the question and answer, but thank you very much. Let me go to Mr. Babu from GZ. You spoke before about circularity. It's such an important word. And from your experience, and borrowing a word again for Dr. Tyagi, which simple and practical interventions can help Indian textile to move from this linear model to the circular model?
Yeah, okay. Let me take from where Tanmeet, you ended up saying about the cluster approach. I think this is something that we are more than convinced that for bringing the whole circularity, a clustered approach is much more gainful, because currently in the way we operate in our industrial parks, each plot operates with everything to be organized by themselves. It's not very cost effective, because you require a lot of common infrastructure services, not only for environmental thing, but for your social engagement, for getting people to be employed. They also require a lot of social infrastructure, be it for transportation, be it for late working of women, be it for their infant children and so on. And similarly, logistics for goods and materials, which are not possible for every single plot holder to organize themselves. So there are international standards that we have come out with. We have a toolkit called Game of Jones. We call it Game of Jones to simplify the understanding of it. People can easily understand what parameters are required, how to plan, how to retrofit your existing clusters and get this common infrastructure into place. So testing labs can be there. It can be a whole lot of things. There's a long list of elements that we have defined: technical infrastructure, renewable energy systems, wastewater systems, environmental management systems, chemicals, storage, handling. Now, for example, in Surat cluster, there is already a common boiler operating where you can download steam at your doorstep. And they're now also supplying demineral water and other chemicals to the doorsteps. So there is a chemical park in Leverkusen in Germany, wherein you can download anything and everything at your doorstep. So they have pipe racks, and they have also copied the same approach in Shanghai Chemical Park in China. So you need to look at that. I would strongly advocate this as one method to do. The other part will be at the individual industry level. So be it the equipment manufacturers, we have to see the longevity of the equipment, the repairability of them, servicing of them, and the product itself. The product that we produce has to have longevity in terms of its, even the textiles, the garments, if they can be used for longer, the quality of it can also be reused or repackaged or brought back into the system again. I just give you an example. I have an intern from Germany a couple of years back, and she doesn't buy clothes anymore. She and her group of friends, they would just exchange clothes among themselves, and they never buy anything new. And she was to go from here to Vapi. She just went by second-class ordinary train. She says, I don't want to use air-conditioned coaches. Yeah, and I have a professor at IIT Kharagpur, where he used to tell us, I just have 2 pairs of clothes because with the Industrial Revolution, we have textiles that long last, and why do I need to buy more clothes than 2 pairs? And he had a fountain pen, and he says, I don't need refills. I just fill the ink and use it forever. Yeah, so we need to bring these circularity elements into the production processes, look at our products, the quality of products, the equipment you use, the tools that we have, environmental audits, energy audits. Eco-Profit is a tool that comes from Austria, which we applied in India quite a lot. So if you, for example, look at your energy consumption, you can make a lot of savings. Material consumption, water consumption, be it other chemicals and materials, you can make a lot of conservation if you go through your systematic processes. In fact, we have seen in many umpteen numbers of examples, the cost savings are almost immediate with zero investments, especially in the energy segment. There is a lot of loss of energy. So there are also other ways we brought out with best available technique documents in Gujarat and at national level. There are 105 identified best available techniques, which means these are technically being used in the country and they are economically viable. These are not researched scale, but these are on the operational scale. And these documents are there with, in the public domain from Gujarat Pollution Control Board, and CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board, is going to release them soon. These were done based on studies done across all the major clusters in the country. So you may want to look at them. The other applications that we have are many, many more in terms of how you can improve your production processes. Please use them. And please, also I will again conclude saying that please re-emphasize retrofitting of your existing parks. And if you are planning new parks, make sure there is adequate infrastructure and services placed inside the park so that individual manufacturers profit from those services. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, please.
We did that public-private partnership project with GIZ, 4-year project. And last year we released in BharatTex that circularity guideline and manifesto for textile and apparel industry. It is called Project Act, Approach for Circular Textile and Apparel in India. 4-year project where we have all stakeholders. And in that guideline, it's available in GIZ website as well as our website. You will find all approach from linear to circular, 9R principle, how it should work, why it should work, what is the role of a different stakeholder in supply chain and value chain. So you'll find all information available in that circularity guideline and manifesto.
Thank you. Thank you for highlighting that. Thank you for highlighting the fact that small action can have a very long-lasting consequence on circularity. Action also in attitudes, as you gave with your example. Let me go to Mr. Sainani. And we know that the textile, the sector is populated by many micro and small and medium enterprises, which are having challenges in adopting technologies, processes, and other tools necessary for this transition. What do you think are the key barriers from your perspective, and now an industry association like you can support them in this transition?
So what the thought process is that within clusters, so cluster is a good idea where basically we can do a lot of things on decarbonization. But if we start with the sampling process, which is like if we have an incubation center where denims, ethnic wear, lot of other segments are basically done, sampling is done through AI base. There are demo machines where everybody in the cluster can use those machines. So then what happens is today if you want to make a Sherwani's sample set, now each Sherwani would cost 5,000 rupees minimum. And for sourcing those fabrics, doing those embroideries, digital printing, lot of carbon footprints are wasted, and even the corporates and the brands are, really spending a lot because they are sourcing. So in that incubation center, there will be different fabric libraries, there will be embroidery machines, there will be printing machines, all demo machines and sampling machines. So once the brand makes 100 AI based samples, then he shows it to the purchaser, and then if he selects 20-25 styles, those sampling is done there. So that is one particular place it starts with. Then within the cluster, if there are different micro clusters, so if we are talking about a denim cluster, an ethnic cluster, the whole infrastructure for that particular micro cluster is developed within that particular cluster. So you don't so most of the garment manufacturing is also done on job working. So you have got job workers there, you have got CETP plant there, you have got solar energy there, you have got washer there, laser guy there. So there is a whole ecosystem from fabric, accessories to the whole job working. So lot of energy is saved, time is saved. Likewise, if you go to the ethnic cluster, now what does ethnic cluster need? They need base fabrics. So the fabric library and the fabric supplier are there. You need embroidery, hand embroidery, printing. So all these guys, if they are there within those cluster, which is called a micro cluster, from sampling to supply, the brands will also benefit, because for monitoring and getting supplies also, it will be a very big advantage for the brand and also for the supplier. So this is where we can, do a great job in, really coming down on the carbon footprint.
Thank you very much. Let me go to Mr. Kadian. And in your previous reply, you were mentioning a lot about technology as one of the most important means for reducing the environmental impact. Which are the emerging technology that do you believe have the greatest potential to transform the sector over the next decade or so?
You want me to name technologies?
General areas or technologies, because we have been working on a roadmap, and also depending on the type of products and productions, each technology might apply. Something that can help specifically micro, small and medium enterprises to get an idea on which one to have an eye on.
So I'll categorize these technologies based on budget and the process. First thing, that which an MSMEs can integrate by their own, and they don't need much of finance. First is sorting technologies. If we'll start from the materials, then comes a garment factory. They can have their I won't call it sorting. That I'll give our example. I don't usually give examples from my business or my factory. What we do at our facility is that we are a zero waste facility, and we don't let the cutting waste fall from the table, because if it will fall from the table, it will get mixed. Then again you have to sort it. So we have done pilots in 5-7 garment factories, that if the waste is segregated from the table only, and then you have a traceability mechanism in which you know that, because factory knows what blend they are cutting when it's on the cutting table. When it's turned into waste, you never know. Then you have to again go through the whole process. Then we have nomination from a few large brands. They know what sort of waste, how much their waste is getting out of cutting and how it is being integrated. So if a brand wants to showcase that we are a zero waste brand, then this technology helps. Okay, from how much of garments they have produced, how much of cutting was generated in that lot, and where it went to recycling. Then comes fiber manufacturing, because today most of recycling is mechanical recycling. Mechanical recycling tends to lower, or the strength of the fiber gets reduced. A few technologies are there by which the fiber can be preserved, or we can stop it from degradation. But I believe that these technologies are too costly and can only be implemented in a sort of common infrastructure or common facilities from where brands or individual industry can upgrade. Then when it comes to garment manufacturing, India is a unique market. We need to generate jobs as well. It is our social responsibility. Then we cannot let that us to be less competitive. So we need a blend of automation combined with the sort of job generation. So in some part, what then again I'll give our example. See, we manufacture denim. So what we have done, we have bifurcated our production lines into two. One is 100% automated. We call them rapid lines. And in denim industry, from cutting to stitching, there is a lead time of 45 to 60 days. We are under 30 days. That we take pride in that we are a sustainable fashion company with a fast turnaround time. So fast fashion need not to be non-sustainable, non-circular. So with the best lead time in the industry, which is less than 30 days, we produce zero waste denims, having 84-85% less water, 20-26% of less CO2. Then comes the part what we do at GATS. MSME needs success stories. They need motivation that what someone has done. I speak that our MSMEs is like monkeys. They learn from other monkeys. And those monkeys who have done something good, their stories need to be published. Because it is very difficult for MSMEs to transfer knowledge to them. Always it comes to from where the ROIs will be generated. And then on the other part, there are brands. Brand needs proof of concept. Until and unless that proof of concept is not documented, not traceable, not proven into their language, they don't accept. So these are a few things.
Thank you, thank you. I think it's you gave a very good inspirations in terms of what the MSMEs can do in terms of the technology. Let me quickly go to Mr. Alhan, and we discussed that ESG compliance is becoming now a market access requirement, and how the company should prepare for this evolving new global landscape where sustainability is no more a nice to have, but a market requirement.
So in terms of ESG compliance, it is rapidly emerging as a new passport for global market access. And we already have moved on from a stage of voluntary reporting, and now it is definitely a tool for trade access and industrial competitiveness. For any brand, top three things, if at all one entity has to be a part of global supply chain. First is cutting down on carbon and water intensity. For any textile unit, depending on the kind of processes which are integrated within, 50 to 70% of unit level emissions are attributable to electricity. To add to that, in India, we have a very high grid emission factor of approximately 1 kg per CO2 equivalent per unit. which largely makes a big climate-related risk if we aspire or want to continue to be in the export market, and we have 100% reliance on just grid supplied electricity. So in fact, one of the internal surveys that we did for medium scale enterprises, we found that while 50% of them had satisfactory industrial wastewater discharge infrastructure, only 10% had access to renewable energy, and only 20% were doing their scope 3 reporting. So the biggest insight there was that while this green transformation is happening, it is perhaps not happening at the pace with which the global sustainability regulations are approaching, in the coming few years. So that's first, cut down on carbon and water intensity. The second is start mapping your value chain beyond the tier 1, because all the sustainability regulations, they are trying to see through the entire value chain and not just the emission factor of the exporter. And the third one would be that some of these ESG KPIs, they have to move away and move from compliance department and should enable more data-enabled decision-making in the boardrooms. What that would entail is that we need to have very strong, robust reporting frameworks for our water use, for our energy use, chemical use, how are we handling our waste, how are we looking at our emissions and labor compliances. I think, Cristiano, moving forward for any organization, if we are not able to substantiate our product footprint, I think we will start losing access to global market even if we are competitive. So that's one big fundamental shift that's I think all the organizations would have to align towards.
Thank you, thank you. I think it has been very interesting to hear all the different perspectives, technology, the importance of cluster, the financial models, the simplicity that the MSME has to approach. I will give you a challenge now, and it will be just for the last very quick 1 minute takeaway. In the previous question, I tell you, what is the most priority actions in the next 5 years? The challenge is, what is the next priority actions in the next 12 months for moving towards sustainability and inclusivity? You can keep your answers, or you can, after what you've learned from the others, probably change it or give it more emphasis. I will start with you, Dr. Tyagi.
So I will keep very simple. Walk the talk. Whatever you say in conference, do it on ground. Walk the talk. I must ask, how many of you buy the garment which is on sustainability parameter? How many?
Not all, some.
So if people in conference is not creating demand for sustainable product, how you think that only that few people will make it happen? Walk the talk. If next time you buy the garment, buy sustainable garment. Any brand, unbrand, whatever it is, but buy sustainable garment. You don't throw your jewelry. You don't throw your high-end saris. Why you throw that clothes? So I think it's SDG 12, sustainable consumption and manufacturing. Only that walk the talk on that.
Thank you. Mr. Kal, is your answer.
I think this is a tricky one. There's no shortcut to sustainability, right? But I think what can be achieved in next 12 months is a green taxonomy, which is standardized, which is understood not just by the industry player, but also by the financial institutes, right? So I think in the next 12 months, we can try and streamline a taxonomy which every player in the industry across the value chain understands and defines sustainability as a one goal, so that we are all working in the same direction and do not have different, goalposts and different definitions. So I think that's something achievable in next 12 months. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Babu, in the next 12 months, what do you recommend?
Yeah. I'm on a similar thoughts now. Let's look at, several years back, we were more interested in doing studies. identifying the problem, getting a solution, and doing a pilot testing, and looking for that pilot test to have something to happen there. And most of it time, we never scaled it up. We were happy, and we stopped at that level. I think today's situation is very different. I'm happy to see the current situation in this country with the current governance. They want a mass application everywhere. So I will suggest there are multiple stakeholders in this ballgame. It's not something that is one measure. Industry, industrial associations, industrial clusters, the government, industrial corporations, financing agencies, manufacturers. If Ministry of Textiles can come out with a strategy and deploy actions across all the stakeholders right away and a mass scale, I think that would be one single measure if you ask me to summarize.
Thank you, thank you. Mr. Sanani, in the next 12 months, what do you recommend?
So in the next 12 months, whoever is sitting on the panel, if CMI can bring those all together from the recyclers to the government to the UNIDO to Mr. Tyagi as an industry, World Bank as the finance. So that is what our actual aim is, and then only we can actually perform. So there can be consultants there can be industry there. Once we form this particular group, and then we go ahead together with the help of CMAI, which is a representative of around say 10 to 12,000 manufacturers. It can become more than 40 to 50,000 manufacturers who can be compliant and work towards sustainability.
Thank you.
I'm your important stakeholder. Yes, support. So, Mr. Tyagi is mentoring the eco-stitch. I think that one person can't do that. We need that larger alliance, and hence.
So we have another panel now. So, Mr. Kadian, what is your take on that?
So, Soccer World Cup is going on. How many of you are following it? Why? Because it's a mainstream thing. If you want to see that, there will be a FOMO. So, we have to make sustainability and circularity mainstream. And the persons who are not doing it, they should have a FOMO that yes, we are doing something wrong. Two ways that can only be done by, as Naveen ji has said, collaboration. And second thing, that the leaders who are sitting over here, they need to come at the forefront. They need to take the lead. Today in the morning, we have released CXO's Blueprint Report 2030, which has the leadership and the mentorship of entire supply chain leaders of Indian fashion industry, the entire supply chain, MMCF, fashion brand, recycling, technology, innovation, everyone. So we are also coming up with the Concord roadmap for next 3-4 years, how we can make Indian brands more sustainable and how we can make our manufacturers reach to those standards or those business which are going to unlock in next 5-7 years. So this is what we are doing.
Thank you, thank you.
It's a collaboration between GATS and CMAI. So we want more people onto this particular bandwagon. So it is going to be, then only it is going to be a grand success.
Thank you. Before, I would be very much interested also what the chair is thinking about that. But before that, let me go to Mr. Alahan to close the gap, and then very much looking forward to your answer.
I'll not take long. So I think a priority for the next 12 months should be how do you support the MSMEs in terms of emerging sustainability compliances. Through TexEco initiative that Vrinda ma'am talked about, I think it's a step in the right direction, where we should not wait for these sustainability regulations to become export barriers, but we should see them as a competitive agenda. So that's that for me, that working with MSMEs, getting them ready for emerging sustainability compliances, that would be a big priority.
Thank you. Madam Desai, you have listened everybody from all spectrum, from the ecosystem. What's your priority actions? What do you think we should move? Give us some guidance from the Textile Commission.
Yeah, so I would like to say that we need to shift from our strategy of win-win, where the buyer and seller wins, to win-win-win, where ecology, sociology, and economy, all the three wins. So we need to see everything in a bigger perspective, in a fuller perspective. And I am really enlightened with all the views of the industry, and we are very happy that all the stakeholders have contributed a lot towards the making of the tax eco scheme, and all their feedback have been considered in the right way in building of that scheme, and the scheme is going to take off in the next 3 to 4 months. And I wish that whatever we have spoken today becomes a reality in the next Bharat Tax.
Thank you very much. I'm looking to Pankaj because we have questions from the audience. Can I get the questions? Please, the gentleman over here.
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity.
Do we have a microphone or? Yes, sir, please.
Okay, thank you. Sir,
Very quick question, please. Please. I give you also the microphone, but quick.
Thanks for opportunity. I am Dinesh Rivari. I am from the textile cluster Panipat, which is into recycling of the circularity of the textiles. I want to say that I have done much research, and we already have some frameworks. Well documented frameworks. Documents are available in which the technologies are well defined. The idea is that all those frameworks and all those technologies, they need to be implemented. For example, we talk NIR, near infrared technologies for the sorting. So there are some well-defined some technologies, some reports available, toolkits available. We need to implement them. That is must. And through the unification of all the finance, technology, then sir, Mr. Tyagi, I would like to request you that you are as a top brand. So from Panipat, the textile, the recyclers, means for the intermediate raw material, yarn, spinning, or for the end product, if you could be an inspiration for the purchase, because they need markets. And you being a giant, retailer, means fulfilling to your requirements, responsible manufacturing, thoroughly mapping and tracking those. So that way, good infrastructure, good groundwork can be done with compliances and ready markets. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we passed the mark of 60. Thank you much for, we cannot have time for other questions because the 60 minutes has passed. But there might be for some speakers to interact after the sessions. I would like to thank you everybody on behalf of UNIDO, and all message taken. I hope my team from UNIDO will be able also to prepare a sort of wrap up for the sessions, because it was very interesting.
I just taken a 1 minute because the session is very fantastic, and the speakers. It is very, very important because UNIDO is very, very specific for the ground level implementation instead of going for the hypothetical. And that is the way we are working very closely with the 8 ministry, even in the Ministry of Textile, and 14 projects are ongoing. All are achievement very well like that. So in that way, because as you know, I am very thankful to all of you, even in the speakers, guest, respected madam, because the time is very, very important, and I am very thankful to the madam to accept all the things. Important thing is the madam, which they are trying to more focus on the energy, environment and employment, and the project is more focused how we will try to meet the target within a project period. It is very important. Under the guidance of Minister of Textile, definitely we will try to achieve all the things. Thank you, Cristiano. Your moderation is fantastic. You are maintaining a time. I'm thankful to you. The speakers, I have no any word to say, because every speakers, they have an own specializations, like Tyagi sir, even Divanshu, and even in the Provinder. Because recycle, financial, technical, everything is very, very important. And this project is more focused on the technical, financial, and that is the way. The JEF is more focused on to look for the chemical hazardous, energy, gender, and even in the land improvement. And second important, we are very closely released the report as a technology and innovation roadmap, which is helpful for the textile sectors. With this, I am very thankful to all of you, media colleagues, UNIDO colleagues, even in the office, in headquarters and in India. Thank you so much.